It should count down, and then hopefully this should start playing. Okay. Perfect. Hello and welcome to the Nordic Mythology Podcast. I'm Daniel Farron, co-owner of the company Horns of Odin. As always, by Dr. Matthias Nordvig.
Hello. Today we're joined by Luciano, who is part of the sort of like art collaborative Children of Ash that works on Viking Age art and identifying Viking Age art in different ways. So Luciano, and aside from that, you're also a skilled tattoo artist. So welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you very much for having me again.
That's it. Thank you for coming back. And I know you've got something special installed. You know, you showed me a little bit before and I'm excited.
Absolutely. Excellent.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you've listened to a few episodes. Obviously, we've had other artists on, we've had yourself on, and I think you wanted to just kind of come back on and give a comprehensive rundown of the different art styles with some visuals, which is what's kind of exciting about this episode. Definitely. We're going to pull up some pictures. You're going to kind of explain what makes each style and really kind of get into it and see what we can learn. And I'm here as a tool to ask the layperson questions.
Did you just call yourself a tool?
I'm trying to be. I
think that's an insult in American English.
Oh, it kind of is over here as well. But I was trying to be polite as I can be to myself. I didn't want to be too harsh on myself. Okay. And obviously, as we get people kind of coming in and hopefully watching, we'll get the live chat feature up, and people can start asking questions. So it doesn't just, anybody who's watching this, if you do want to ask a question, ask away. We'll keep an eye on the live chat. If it kind of fits in, then we'll ask the question to Luciano and just see where we go.
Sounds great.
Perfect.
Absolutely. So Luciano, where do you want to start? Have you got a start point? I guess for me, the beginning. Is there a beginning?
Yeah. Absolutely. I actually had the idea that we could start by asking you what your idea is of the styles. How many can you think of? What's your picture of the story?
You're putting me on the spot here.
Yes.
So I think for me, I see the generic styles. I think that probably everybody sees. Is there six or seven? I probably can't name them all, but I'm sure like the ones that are mainly referred to that you see kind of in books or on Wikipedia. Obviously, you have like the Borre, the urns, the struggling mammon, the ringerick,
Jelling, ringerick, yes.
So those are the ones I see, and I know you've mentioned to me before that maybe it's not as easy as putting them in these nice little boxes of 6 distinct styles.
It's a convenient way of it's a convention. I am trying to work to break them down in more realistic ways, but it's still a good way of understanding where you are historically, for example.
Okay.
They usually overlap.
Yeah.
So you don't get one style that ends and then the next one starts seamlessly. They usually are going on at the same time, and then one ends and then the next one starts before the next one ends, etc. Sometimes you have three styles going on at the same time.
Okay. So I mean, if we start right at the beginning, I guess with what would be the first one? Because I mean, I even imagine like the starting point isn't that easy. I guess you have things that come in and influence the style. So I imagine it's almost impossible to start somewhere.
Well, no. There are some starting points. Officially, the style that starts off Viking art is Broa style, and it's actually across the two periods, like the Vendel periods into the Viking Age, and that style pretty much bridges the two.
Okay. So that's from the 600s to 700s. Is that where we are seeing that?
Actually, from the early 700s to the halfway the 800s.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Roughly.
So
exactly.
So to start off with the questions, I guess, what's Vendel art?
Well, Vendel is more a historical period than just an art style. You know, it's what came before the Viking Age. There are different kind of definitions of that. Some prefer to call, this period more into the Germanic, art periods, but.
Yeah, so the Vendel era is named after Vendel in Sweden, and the very cool finds that we have from that area and from Valskera as well, You have probably seen the helmets with all the ornamentation on it, with little plates with warriors and that kind of stuff on it. There usually a lot of this artwork is very similar to what we're actually seeing in Anglo-Saxon England. Some of it very much reflects the same styles and ideas as we find from the Sutton Hoo burials and so on. So it's a very sort of like a distinctly Swedish definition of that period to call it Vendel, because it's a Swedish location. But it's, in other contexts you could call it the migration period. So that period before the Viking Age, from like the 200s and onwards, where we see Germanic tribes moving around in all over Europe. And one of the really cool things is that we can actually trace sort of like a cultural community and also links between rulers in Northern Europe and these different places where Germanic tribes show up in the rest of Europe. And through the artwork, they're disseminating art in these ways, sending each other gifts and in other ways, making sure to keep old family bonds and also alliances alive in different ways. But yeah, Vendel as sort of like an artistic context is really important for this period just before the Viking Age.
Okay. Am I going to put you on the spot if I ask if we have any examples of that?
Sure.
I was just thinking maybe if people see... If we can see an example of that, then we
plenty, actually.
We can kind of see where...
One second, I need to... I think I actually had put it in a list. Wait a second. Because... Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Well, I wasn't thinking of that. But 1 second.
Of course, I'll put you on the spot.
The one thing I didn't
the one thing that you didn't get, of course. I mean, I'm just kind of thinking
but for example,
we can start right at the beginning and then
let's
see what kind of influences. Because sometimes I guess you get a better idea of the art itself by looking at what made it.
Yeah, that's, for example, this is one good example. I need to activate my screen because now I'm a bit clumsy with it. I knew it was going to happen.
We did practice all this before, but
of course.
There we go.
But this doesn't help.
Your screen's up.
There you go. So this would be a type of screen, and these helmets are, usually representing, in the imaginary of many films, and they are, they represent much of the Viking, the picture you'd have of Vikings with these kind of helmets and stuff, but they are from the previous period, from the earlier period. And they also had a different way of depicting things. Like these helmets, like the Sutton Hoo helmets, have all plates on their, all around the head of the helmet, with all kind of mythological pictures, with all kinds of bear fighters and
if you Google Berserker, you will, one of the first things that will come up is a little plate that depicts like a bear warrior that is from this helmet and these finds. One other thing that's important to mention is the eyebrows that we're seeing on this helmet, very similar to the eyebrows on the Sutton Hoo helmet. There is some kind of symbolic significance to that, sort of like, it almost looks like a bird kind of.
That's what I was going to say. They look like feathers almost, and up the middle, up the center, almost looks like a feather as well. Yeah.
And so there's these helmets had very distinct symbolic meaning. There's nothing going on them that's unintentional, so to speak. It's not just like just not just somebody who's like, oh, let's just like do this little thing over here and that little thing over there. They really had intention behind creating them.
So how common would something that intricate be? Like, is that like something really special, one-off?
Yes, absolutely. That would be for leaders, and no common soldier would have this kind of.
There's an aspect of like the masking of the face too that we see very distinctly in the Sutton Hoo helmet, but we can also see it here. It's not the whole face that is masked when you're wearing this helmet. But there's something to be said for the kind of impression that you would get when a leader is wearing this. Their personal features aren't visible, right? And I mean, there's a lot of theories about how they have played a role in ritual performance, where the person wearing this helmet is taking on sort of like an Odin kind of aura to him. I think it's actually Neil Price who's been pointing out that the eyebrows in the Sutton Hoo helmet, one of them, they both have I think some kind of like ruby lining or something like that makes that can make the eyes look is like glimmering or flickering or something like that. But it's only in one of them where there's like a golden foil on the back that actually reflects the light from a fire, whereas the other one doesn't. So that sort of, hints at that Odinic one-eyed kind of scenario, right? Which we're also seeing in a lot of other contexts with little figurines. These you've probably seen them, these little heads that have horns that turn into ravens or other birds.
Okay.
In many contexts, we actually see that one of the eyes has been like stabbed out. So like they were produced with two eyes, and then somebody was like, "Let's get rid of one." And this seems like it's a very Odin kind of thing going on right there.
It does, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Like these here.
Okay. Yes, they're very detailed in obviously in the creation.
Absolutely, definitely.
But
we were talking about Vendel art, and Vendel art is particular. If you connect it, if you think about Viking art and Vendel art, there is a quite some difference. For example, in those helmets, there are a lot of hint and connections with mythological characters and scenes like berserkers and figures of that kind, which in the Viking Age they are nearly completely absent.
Okay.
They're much more concentrated before the Viking Age, and actually much of our imagination is fueled by illustrative than Viking art.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
One thing you could say about the Viking Age is that if we look at it in terms of like economic development, Viking Age Scandinavia is the time period where we see what you could call sort of quote unquote industrial production. We have the emergence of the city centers as trade ports, important locales for the production of goods and also the exchange of goods. Right. This didn't exist before the Viking Age. And what is also happening is some level of mass production of certain goods. My personal theory on like why so much of this intricate ornamentation disappears is simply because they're mass producing a lot of these, especially weapons and armor. But maybe you have another thought on that.
Well, the intricacy doesn't really disappear. It actually shifts in a different direction. It's a bit complicated because I think that there is a lot of connection with the influence of Christianity. And it doesn't happen in one go. Actually, I've located a number of different waves in which Christianity has hit Viking art. And the first wave actually happens just after the Broa style, which we'll have a look at because it's kind of important because it's very different from Christian art.
Okay. I was going to say, why don't we start right at the beginning and kind of work our way through?
Exactly.
So what would be the first Viking style that comes about after the Vendel?
That would be Broa style.
Can we pull some examples up of that to have a look at?
Absolutely. And actually, I found some connections as well with one of the famous graves, Volsgård. There is actually some pieces that were found in Volsgård grave number 7 that bear a symbol which we don't know what it is about. It looks kind of strange. I don't know if I've got it right there, hopefully. Let's see. I'll start. Let's see. I need to share now. Perfect. Accidentally turned on Skype.
No problem.
So there we go.
So,
all right. Can you see?
Perfect. Yeah. So what years are we looking at with the Broa style?
We're looking. Well, actually, it's a pretty long period. We're talking about from around 730 to 850.
Okay.
So it's probably over 100 years, which is quite long for a style. It's
okay.
It's a sort of so this is a typical. Well, it's actually one of the best pieces I've ever seen.
Okay.
Really. And this is from the hoard in Broa, actually, the Broa hoard. And it was a set of gilded bronze mounts for horse reins, pretty much.
So just for
so
where exactly do we is Broa located in Scandinavia?
Broa is actually it's actually it's on a small island north of Gotland. That's pretty much, well, if you have So here's Gotland, there's Stockholm, and that is right up. I'm very clumsy there. That's there, right there.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
So this is where this style comes from, technically.
Right. Okay. I mean, how well are they able to pinpoint a style to a place?
I mean, it's usually based off of where it's found first, right? Like
that's what I was thinking.
Yes, but it depends on the styles. I mean, with Broa style, we actually have good evidence that it was that it actually came from there. But that is a very, very particular situation because Gotland was a very important hub for arts.
Yeah.
And they were that because they were extremely wealthy for probably slave trade.
Okay.
And they had been that for a long time. And
it's also, you know, just to speak a little bit about Gotland itself, it's also, I mean, it is sort of probably one of, I hesitate to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's probably where the whole concept of Viking was invented in the first place. The whole idea of being like a hydroch, a naval king. That's probably like on these islands, Öland, Gotland, and maybe some of the other archipelagos around the Scandinavian area. Where Gotland is an interesting site in and of itself because it has a very deep history. We have a saga about it. We have its ancient laws as well that are distinguishable from mainland Sweden. Aside from that, Gotland also has a lot of cultural crossover with the Eastern Baltic as well. We see that, for instance, in building styles, where some of their buildings they are either borrowing or inheriting from building styles that you see in the Baltic countries, in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And also, it looks like it is from Gotland that you have some of the first migrations across the Baltic Sea to the Eastern Baltic coast. So they're very well connected and definitely would be sort of like a place for innovation in the Viking Age.
Definitely. And they were also actually well connected and wealthy from before the Viking Age. So you need to consider that island as being in business at a very high level from way before the Viking Age. So whereas the other areas might have, had different fortunes and different developments, Gotland was already heavily in business. They had their own format of art, for example.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, if we jump back to the actual art style of Broa itself, are you able to pull it back up and kind of go into, I guess, what makes it Broa compared to? Because I imagine to most people, and in particular me, a lot of the artwork looks very similar, and it would be interesting to kind of know what separates these art styles up and what makes each one its own style.
Well, you're familiar with the Kamin casket and the Bamberg casket, right? Like in the heyday of Viking art.
Yes.
This is a very, very different stuff. If you look at the the pictures, it's much more complex to figure what's going on here, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dan? Yeah.
I mean, without being offensive, I think it looks quite messy.
It's being battered by time, but
yeah. But I think it just doesn't have. When you look at the other stuff, I guess to somebody who's untrained like me, you can kind of follow it a little bit easy. You can follow where the lines go and where each piece goes, whereas it doesn't seem to have that same fluidity to it, I guess.
Well, actually, what happened was that with this style, Viking art actually separates itself from other types of art, like the Vendel art and the monastic Celtic art from the British Isles.
Mm-hmm.
and they create something different. I mean, I've been looking into this piece in particular. This thing you're looking at is 2 inches tall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
it's minute.
That is. I feel quite bad for saying it was messy now. Are you able to pull up your? Yeah, so that's the one that I was looking for. Your version,
yes,
which is obviously you can see the detail a lot better on it.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is, normally in books, I mean, I spent something like 29 hours dissecting this.
Okay.
And it was not just to get it right, but it was also to understand what I was looking at.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because I imagine that was quite difficult to strip back and get to what we see here.
Absolutely, definitely. And it's, normally in books you see the image rendered only in its dark part.
Okay.
So you see a very flat, dark image, with strings going around. But what's very important here is what's going on between the black parts.
Okay.
Because it actually gives you an insight on where Viking art actually started. It started in a specific material. The shapes that you see later in the classic styles that you like were actually originated because of a technical issue. You can because they needed to engrave all these designs so that they could have the space between the positive design end up in a line at the bottom. You see?
Okay.
All right.
So what was it initially made to be carved into?
That's a very complicated thing. I actually talked with an expert from Gotland, a guy called Nu Torbjörn. He's written many papers about these things, and he said like this was made in a pretty complicated way. The original was probably carved in lead.
Okay.
So they designed it very lightly on top. Then they engraved it so to have the rough image. Then they cast it in bronze. And after they cast it in bronze, you're still talking about 2 inches, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then they sharpened and chip carved it in the negative spaces so that it would be sharp, because the casting would make it a bit rounded and rough and a bit at the edges. So they needed to sharpen it afterwards. So it's a very complex process to actually get this done.
So much properly. For these northern barbarians, huh?
My God, this is incredible. But
that's
there is more.
I mean, I guess I just thought they just carved it in there direct. I didn't even think of making a lead piece first and then kind of going that way about it.
Yeah, I spoke to some people that actually engrave, and they said it would be difficult to do nowadays with by hand if you with the modern magnifying tools.
So
it would be
so
really
how did
hard.
They do it?
Aliens. They use
their
eyes
until say aliens.
Yeah, maybe.
Aliens, but that is ridiculously detailed. Like you say, to be 2 inches tall, it's so intricate.
Definitely.
So, what makes this?
Now I'll show you what's inside there, because you probably don't see exactly what's in there. Because in there, there is this.
Okay.
So you've got in a dark blue, you've got the neck of a large animal. you know,
Okay.
and the head. You see
Yeah.
it?
Yep.
So to the right, you've got like the mouth with large teeth.
Okay, yeah.
And can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of.
And
I think
and
maybe
its
I'm missing
bite.
it somewhere.
Well, on the right side, you've got these comb-like bits. At the bottom, and they're biting into the yellow bit.
Okay, yeah.
Right. The yellow bit is the tail of a bird.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. So, and then inside there is the mouth of this big beast, where the body of the yellow bird is.
Okay.
And then going up forward on the right side, that yellow bit is the head of the bird. Right. So going backwards, you've got this wider drop shaped, like big drop shaped place, and that's the eye of the big beast.
Yeah, I see that.
Right. And then there's this big mustache going upwards, you know, like with this big blue mustache going up that defines the eye as well.
Okay.
And then there is a smaller beast. That's the most abstract of them, because the head is right here. I don't know if you see the cursor.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So there's the head. Somewhere here is the body. You got a tail or wings over here. You got claws or paws on this side, and another one over here, and another one over here. They're actually right in numbers. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. The last one is actually gripping the claw of the next creature, which is in red. So basically, we're looking at the great beast that is digesting 3 smaller beasts.
You
I'm even more amazed now. It's definitely aliens.
Well,
like that's
it's really interesting to consider what is going on in their minds when they're making this, because I mean, obviously their technological capacity is that they can make whatever they want. So there must be so much intention behind this, and it must have a very distinct meaning to them to make this that in that way, like so abstract and you know.
Definitely, I've actually developed a theory about it, and to go there. I mean, this is it's a very long story, so I'll try to keep it as short as possible. I had to look into Picasso to understand what this is like, because it's the closest we have to that kind of thinking. What they were doing actually in these pictures was something that is very sophisticated, because they were blending the natural world with the world of the spirits, other dimensions.
Yeah.
And make them visible. So imagine you're having you had a psychedelic trip, and you try to explain it to somebody that has never been there and has no idea.
Okay.
So you need to use certain parts of their understanding, and that's what they did with some parts of the natural world. So this is a blend between this world, the natural forms of animals, etc., and the abstract, wild forms of the other dimensions, which, if you think about it, makes a lot of sense, because why would other dimensions have the same logic as ours?
Of course.
But we are used from our historical heritage from Christianity, and before that the Roman and the Greek art, to visualize everything from this world and other worlds to look like the shapes of this world. You know, a dragon looks recognizable at all times. You know, a griffin, even a hydra, you can distinguish in, you know, snakes, and you know, you see the natural forms everywhere. They basically blended this into, you know, with something, with the abstract dimension. Like I'll give you a clear sample of that. You know, the red creature at the bottom is actually something like a griffin. It has there you go. It's actually, I put it horizontally so it's a bit more understandable. It has had the head on the right top side, and the rest of the body in the middle. But, I'll show you what,
because this is kind of obviously his tail that comes down in between his two legs.
Exactly. I'll show you a parallel with a naturalistic form, which is very interesting. Look at this.
Okay. Yeah.
Look at the position of the lion and the back and the back legs, and at the top they are actually very naturalistic.
Like you say, the way that that it comes in just before the back legs start, where the stomach gets where the rib cage ends and the stomach gets very small.
Exactly.
You get that feeling from it as well.
You see the swing. You know, now you see it, right? Exactly. So that's what you're looking at here is somebody that is taking you by the hand from your the world of your natural experiences into another dimension. Basically. So they blend what you understand with what you don't understand. So they take you by the hand as far as you can go, and then they show you the way, what's beyond there.
That's really trippy.
Isn't it just?
So yeah, I know. Look at the head. You know, this is the head actually, and the head is particularly interesting because it has different features. What you immediately see is a sort of an eye with a beak, right? Exactly. Well, that is not the actual head of the animal, but it is intended to be seen as a face. So this animal has two faces, and the other face is actually this elongated ovoid head with the same eye, and underneath you've got the top part of the beak. You see that curves underneath the eye, and then the tongue curling all the way down behind the neck, and then the bottom of the beak. Okay. And this is the neck. So you've got a head that has two faces. And that's a pretty common feature in this period. You can see it in Oseberg a lot. And it's meant to be like that. It's not by chance. You are supposed to first see one face and then see the next face.
I can't help but see like a small rabbit type creature or a mouse, something like that. Yeah,
like this one.
It looks like Stitch.
Yes, exactly.
From Lilo and Stitch.
Yes, something like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
This is so fascinating.
Exactly, but it's actually designed to lure you into seeing the not real face first. Because what helps you see the second face is the logic of the body. Because the actual face is a functional face. So it's the actual face of the animal. But what you see first is not it. You see the sort of decoy face.
Yeah.
You know? And that happens a lot. I can see, if we go to Oseberg for a second, this is a sled from the Oseberg ship. And here you see it very well. So you see there is a weave, right? So there is a knotwork with bodies of animals, and the heads bite into the bodies. All right?
Okay.
Perfect. Right. Now you look at the faces, and the first face you see, the one with the beak, for example, it's not the functional face of the animal, because the functional face is the one that bites into the body.
Yeah, okay.
You see? So with the lower lip there. So they actually gave you a decoy first to see the other head, and then you see the functional face, because you know how the weave works. So you expect that to be a face as well. So it's an aid to show you both faces. You've got the same here. First, you see two fish-like faces, nearly kissing each other. But the functional face is actually the one that bites into the weave.
Yeah.
Again, right there and right there. And it goes on again. So this one is also, the first one you see is this part, but it's the other one that is the functional one.
So can I just ask, what is your theory on what kind of creatures we're seeing here? Because what they look like to me is some kind of marine animal, so like fish. You mentioned just fish, but we get those sort of dragons with the mustache a lot in this art form. Are they? What are we dealing with here? Pilot fish, something like that.
No, it's very difficult to identify this in this period of art, and especially in this venue, because here we're talking about Oseberg. So this was commissioned work for these two powerful ladies. So they were asking for specific spiritual stuff, which very surprisingly, you'll find this very interesting, Matthias. I've been looking at all the creatures in Oseberg, and there is practically nothing that refers to sagas or stories that we know of. There is.
What do they refer to, so to speak?
Well, that's a very interesting question. There is one, for example, consistent creature that keeps on popping up. For example, here you can see it. That is rendered by you got like 9 different forms of it, and rendered in different ways. The ones in the middle, the 3 in the middle, are from the actual ship. And it seems like they were the main theme for the paraphernalia that these ladies had commissioned, because they are rendered by at least 6 groups of 6 different workshops in different ways. And this creature seems to be a sort of quadruped with a short head, fangs, and a headdress, like as you can see here. Here's the so-called realistic, between quotes, rendering of. Lock of whatever headdress coming out of the forehead, and short fang. It's with a short head, a bit like a cat rather than a dragon or.
Because you most commonly see, like you say, I think of like that dragon style with the long, like you say, the long snout, the long face.
Yeah, exactly. This is a particularly commissioned creature. They had something with this quadruped with wings and a short head, which it looks like a specific mythological creature, but we don't know exactly what it is.
So could it be based on like a real life animal that was in that area, or do you think this is maybe somebody that's taken some psychedelics and had a particular trip and seen an animal, or where do you think this has come from to say that it's kind of so isolated?
I think it comes from their. I don't know. I think it's something that has to do with forces from beyond of something, from other spirit worlds. You could call them their spirit animal, maybe. I mean, very, very tentatively.
Okay. So I have a couple of theories on all of this. There's this type of visual art right here is designed to confuse you, and that is the same with the skaldic poetry. Skaldic poetry is also designed to confuse you. It is designed to be an intellectual test, that if you can decipher all the roundabout ways that I am talking about reality right now, then you're a smart person. If you can't, then you're a joke. Yeah, you fail.
I'm fucked.
And here's an example of how that actually works in the mythology. In the story where Thor goes to Utgaraloki, this happens right there. This is why this is not a real story. This is why it cannot be a real proper story about Thor, because he fails at the things that he's never supposed to fail at. And the reason that he fails is that he is too stupid to understand even the simplest kennings and Haiti. And the best example of this is where he's lifting the cat Graubacker. Now, Utgaraloki says, "Oh, try to lift my cat. His name is Greyback." And this is where Thor would have known, oh, wait, Greyback, that's a kenning for the world serpent. That's a kenning for Jormungandr, or Haiti for Jormungandr. So he should have known that it was the world serpent that he was talking about. The world serpent is really interesting, right? Because we have this cartoon image of it as like this some big snake that's like lying around the world. That's Snorri Sturluson that gives us that. But if you go back to skaldic poetry and you see how they talk about the world serpent there, it is in the same way, in these like very like intricate, ornate, roundabout ways, just like the visuals that we're seeing right there, calling it the end. What is the end string of the world? And referring to it in terms of like, you're getting like these images of strings and bodies that are like entangled, and both entangles itself and the world in different ways. So actually, this stuff makes a lot of sense to me.
So it's not just. So it's not just a pure like you say, you get this idea of a singular snake wrapping around the world, biting its own tail almost, I guess. Just laid there perfectly, whereas what you're saying, maybe it's more like I guess what comes to mind is those rubber band balls that are kind of all linked together. That's kind of what I'm getting in my mind, though, is like the world in the middle and like this all locked together.
I think that's a great way to think about it, because so first of all, it's very obviously like any skaldic poetry that talks about the world serpent, they're using it as euphemisms for the ocean in and of itself. And the ocean is seen in this mentality, I would argue, as both very complicated and tangled, and also as a surface that you can see clearly, right? And
so it's a paradox,
right? And this is also what the oldest imagery of the world serpent actually suggests. The name, which is probably the original name, Jormungandr, literally means sort of like the staff of the great expanse. and that staff, that could be a reference to the world tree, which is also an entangled shape in so many different ways. But it can also mean spirit of the world. So it kind of looks like a general philosophy about how the world functions and how the world works, as like this very entangled sort of existence. And I believe we talked about this a little bit in terms of like the aesthetics of Scandinavia as opposed to Southern Europe. Scandinavia aesthetically is very fragmented. You have the thicket of the forests. You have the fragmented view that you get from the plays between light and dark, between ocean and land. So that might also, be work here in some capacity or other. Whereas Southern Europe is a lot more lit,
What I think is that, like you talk about confusion, but that's probably, that's our view on that. To them was probably something that may, it's a bit like rhyming slang, Dan.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, if you know it, you know it, it's like, so the references will be, be quite, snappy, you'll quite readily understand where you're going. And it started, in fact, with
totally
Broa style.
Yeah. Sorry, no, go on. You're totally right. This like thing of like, if you're familiar with the forest, you're not scared of walking into it, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Exactly.
So before we
there was also
I was gonna say, before we move on from the Broa style, is there any kind of rules to it? What makes it Broa rather than Oseberg or another style? What makes it its own style, I guess?
Okay. Styles actually work in a specific way. Generally speaking, they have a matter that you build everything in. So the knotwork is not separate from the beasts. They are made of the same rules and materials. And Broa style actually was the sort of master plan for everything else. You can actually, I'll have to, this is a bit too complicated to go into every detail. But, I can give you a general idea. It's like Broa style actually inspired pretty much every other following style. Both in knotwork. It's a very long process. This is, for example, this is actually nearly before Broa style as such. But it had pretty much the structure already. So if you look at the heads, they are from earlier Germanic styles or sub-styles, but the structure is already taking shape in all the wings have that kind of forms, etc. The weave is based on this on a pretzel shape. Well, actually, basically, it's the mother structure for every knotwork style in the Viking Age.
Pretzels.
And basically, I can see if I can show you how it was constructed, because that's interesting. There you go. So here you see a connection from the first style, so Broa style, and later styles. So the weave is constructed with from a base unit shape of a lens, let's say, that you see circled here, and it's made because of technical reasons, really, because you have two convex curves that meet in a line at the bottom. Because obviously you can't make a flat surface at the bottom of the negative space. So you have to have them always meet in a line. So you have two curved side surfaces that meet in a line at the end of this shape, and that's why these structures are made like that. And later on, they actually continued using the same shapes. You see them here. This is made in ivory. And there is no particular reason to do it like that, other than continuing with the same weave as it was traditional. You see? So it's here you don't have that groove at the bottom, but it has exactly the same shape that is connected to another lens shape.
It actually
and so
looks
on.
a little unnatural
It's
here in the way that it bends around. Like it looks like they felt like they needed to use it because that's the tradition or something like that. Or
yeah, you basically shape everything. Yeah, this is in Mammen style. And in Mammen style, most of the time they actually, sort of in a sort of horror vacui, they try to fill the space as much as possible. It has also a technical reason, because it makes you avoid the in-depth carving in between. So the more ribbons you have, the simpler task you have at working, because you get like flat surfaces with one simple groove in the middle.
Yeah,
you see. So, and that's why also the paletting comes in. These dots that you see around the beast are simplification, because otherwise you'd have to carve all the way down to a flat surface in the depth.
Right,
so making palettes simplifies your work a lot.
Yeah, that's true. It's a very cramped bird we're seeing right there, I think.
Definitely.
It's just,
here's another example.
It's just so detailed.
Look at this one instead.
Mm-hmm.
And as somebody that carves things,
this,
I look at that and I'm just kind of blown away.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, this is a couple of centimeters altogether.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here on top in the circle, you see a wing of this bird. It's pretty clearly defined, strangely enough.
It kind of looks, it looks like a little duck, I guess.
And exactly. And the wing is, these feathers separated by these two side surfaces that end up here in a curve to go back. So you can imagine that you are, scraping the side of this groove, and then you turn around and you go to the other side. You just
so you just go up and down,
like in this drawing up here.
Yeah,
you see. So you turn around.
Yeah.
All right. So what you see in later styles, you see the same kind of shape, but without the need to do so.
Right. Yeah. So this is basically inherited. It started out as a technical method, and now it's just in the Mammen style inherited as a aesthetic.
It seems like that just becomes the way that you do it.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Precisely. So to move on, otherwise we can we can go on for quite a while.
So
the next style.
I was going to say, what comes after Broa?
After Broa comes a more complicated, political issue. Let's say it's more. It's the Borre style.
Okay.
And the Borre style is a bit of a stylistic problem, because it's very complex. It's very articulated. Probably it's the one style that contains a lot more other styles. This is a typical well-defined high-end sample of Borre style.
Jesus Christ!
So you see Yeah, this is a spur.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You see the beast there?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Borre style, as we know it, as it's been defined in books, is basically centered around the creature, which was clearly defined in Oseberg, which is the gripping beast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So basically, you have a design that is constructed out of beasts, gripping at each other rather than having a proper knotwork.
How much is this
You see?
a loan or inspiration from the Carolingian styles? I've seen scholars claim that the Scandinavian gripping beasts are sort of like basically just like borrowings from Frankish styles. What do you think about that?
I think that it's not really realistic because it actually substitutes completely the knotwork,
Mhm.
the whole structure of it, which is never like that in Carolingian style.
Mm-hmm.
So these beasts are not like they fill the picture. They are the knotwork. They are the material you construct the ornament with.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
it's a sort of ornamental orgy kind of thing.
I mean, I can see why you say that though as well. It's I guess I'd never.
And this is from.
I'd never noticed that before.
Go on.
That it's just the beasts that make the pattern.
Exactly. So, and that is it's a central part of Borre style because these beasts have a particular kind of face, a particular kind of head. I'll see if I can find one. Here's one. So you see with a sort of rounded nose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's two eyes and it's two ears. Well, that's pretty much the blueprint of a part of Borre style. It's usually academically it's identified as pretty much all of Borre style or the main part. But I think it's just one trend, one part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've got some examples here of it. You see. Oh, this is what we know as Borre style.
Yeah.
That beast has
in
like some
academic terms.
It has some like funny round ears, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Like,
It's got these pointy ears on the side. Yes, you can see them here. Here's in a.
Oh yeah, they're more pointy here. I thought in the gold
sense. Yeah, exactly.
But in the gold spur, they look more round. Or was that just me?
Yeah.
Interpreting. Like
they are sometimes round, pointy, sometimes, but they generally end up in a sort of triangular shape, like wide-angled nose and big eyes. They look like a cute little animal.
Yeah, like kind of a teddy bear.
You can see it right there. Yeah, exactly.
It seems like
exactly.
they're more front on rather than side on. It seems like most of the other beasts are
exactly.
side profile, where these are coming from the front, which makes them stand out a little bit different. Luciano, have you got any there that you've remastered yourself that we could just have a quick look at? Because I think that really helps clear it up. Is when you see.
I think I can find one.
See one that you've done.
Help! Sorry. It's just freaking out. Let's see.
Certainly for me, and I assume probably for other people as well, that when you see that remastered version, it really kind of helps see what's
Yeah,
what.
exactly. I'm looking at the. It's
And
hard
to
find them right now.
To put you on the spot. Don't worry if you haven't. We can.
I was actually trying to. Oh no, this is a different one now.
It's not.
Is it?
It's not a problem if you can't find one.
You know, it's
no. There it is. There it is. This is it. Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
This we have actually 20 so many samples of from all over Scandinavia.
Yeah,
so they're just hands holding.
Well, in the center you see 3 heads. You see 3 faces. You know here.
Okay, now I do. Yeah.
Blend at the center. The neck goes down center. And goes around towards the body, and here upper arm that grips at the side on the left, and then it turns around to the right, and then you've got the lower.
That's so trippy.
Well, parts,
that's exactly what I was just thinking.
Arms, and then it goes down to the tail down here.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
it
these
makes
are
perfect sense.
those typical gripping beasts.
Wow, like.
Yeah, I know it's very particular.
But they look like
interesting
human
thing
hands
about
to me.
Borre.
Yeah, that looks very human.
Yeah, definitely.
Which what makes it almost even more trippy in my mind is that they just look like little people hands.
It's actually if you think about it, on an ideological or aesthetic point of view, this is the style where Christianity has the first impact. And the first impact comes from not from the symbology of Christianity, but from their aesthetic point of view. This is the only style in the 6 styles that are officially recognized.
I think he's just broken up for a second. So you went for a minute.
Oh, okay, I'm saying like that. This is the only style, Borre style, that in which Christianity gave its first aesthetic impact by making it symmetrical. You see, so you've got like something.
One question about this. One question about this influence from Christianity. Can you identify whether or not it's insular Christianity, channel Christianity, or more sort of like continental central German Christianity we're dealing with here?
It's hard to say. I mean, it's like I think the first impact came from insular Christianity.
Okay.
Yes. Because there was a definite connection. I'm not sure. I'm still investigating it. There is in the early period there was artistically speaking a very strong connection between Gotland, southwestern Norway, and the British Isles, like mostly Ireland and those areas. That's pretty much where they got the original chip carving techniques.
Yeah. Well, this makes a lot of sense too. If you look at the linguistic material, the earliest words, like Christian words that Scandinavians get, come from Old English. So basically, up until Knut the Great fails at creating some sort of like fails at basically establishing Canterbury as the archbishopric of Scandinavia. So mid thousands. Up until that point, that's where we have like Anglo-Saxon influence on the Christian vocabulary in Scandinavia. Then it shifts to Saxon and German instead, Old High German.
Yeah, but it's quite interesting how the the influence of the arts came in different waves. It seems like the first impact was on the early, Broa style on a technical level, on how to build this, this metal chipped, pieces of jewelry, this minute work. This was the first impact they got. In the British Isles, they tended to make them very symmetrical and repetitive, because they had a sort of they had a reason for that. Because if you have a repetitive pattern of these chipped areas, these slanted surfaces that are exactly the same at one angle, they would look like they would glimmer in the same way. So it would be like looking at like a cut stone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you turn the object and it would glimmer in different directions.
And also, let's just keep in mind here that I think this is something that just came to me. We live in a world where there's a lot of things flashing in our faces all the time, like everything from billboards to our phones to cars coming by and all that stuff. And let's just keep in mind that did not at all exist back then. Like wearing a piece of jewelry that was carved ornately like this, of course, would be very impactful. Just having one on your dress, right? So that's part of the visual reception that people would have when they were seeing these things, right?
Definitely. I mean, they also, the best pieces are generally, they belong to certain sets of jewelry that most of the time is connected with horse gear.
Exactly. One question: how much influence is there from the East on this? Like, can we trace anything directly to the Baltics and beyond?
The Baltics, yes, there is a very clear. It's a very interesting sample. Let's see if I can find it. It's actually from Borre in Borre style. Borre style, you have to, Daniel. You have to imagine it as a sort of. It's the most ecumenical style of them all. It's actually the one that has been found everywhere.
Interesting.
In Scandinavia, while the others have areas of influence, etc., and you don't find them everywhere.
Okay,
but that's the Yeah.
How much have you been working with Leszek Gardela's theories on these especially the writing equipment that seems to reflect a connection to the Polish area? This comes later, I believe, in like the 900s.
I don't know much about it, to be very honest, actually.
Okay, yeah.
No,
well, neither do I, because it's very recent.
I will read up
research.
on that, definitely.
Yeah. I have only I've talked with Leszek a couple of times, and I've read an article or two here and there. So I don't know much about it either. This is something I really want to research myself. But I think it's really interesting to see that you can see there's some distinct markers of identity too involved here, where people from the North Polish coast, and also inland Poland for that matter, they sort of are making the mark on Scandinavia too in the Viking Age. Really interesting.
The interesting thing is that, for example, in Borre style imported a lot of stuff. There is one type of brooches that has been found in many places, also in Norway, and a lot on Gotland, and but particularly in Birka, that is made in a structure. Now I just have to show you, because it's all this is all talk. You can't really see it. Yeah, because it's specifically a very visual thing. So all these that is based on on a Baltic type of knotwork. Baltic knotwork is a sort of, it's a very strange type of knotwork that is that revolves around circles. So the whole knotwork has the negative spaces that are all circular. You see? All the knots go around. It's like sort of circuitry, you know, like you see?
Yeah.
And that is very, very unlike anything Scandinavian. You don't see it in any other kind of designs. I've seen it in jewelry from the Curonians and Semigallians in Lithuania and Latvia. And I've seen it here, but there are a lot of these. And the interesting thing is that the structure of these, especially the more complex ones, let's see, this is, there you go. Here, these are from Birka. And the more complex ones have these heads that are very much like the Borre style heads. You see, like these little mouse kind of heads, and the gripping hands at around the center. So they pretty much blended the knotwork from the Baltics to their Borre style heads and gripping beaks.
That's so interesting. I mean, you should probably be very cautious in interpreting what animal they're trying to depict here, or not trying to depict, but I would say perhaps more accurately what they are intentionally obscuring for you when you're looking at it.
Definitely, but it's identifying an animal in Viking art is a very complex thing because of the reasons you were talking about before, because the ambiguity that is intrinsical to the idea. They didn't go for totem animals, like things that were directly connected with their life. This was more an idealized kind of beast, so it's very rare that you see it, especially in the earlier style. In later style, you see the second wave of Viking of Christian influence, in which creatures get much more characterized. Like in Mammon style, for example, you can nearly tell exactly what kind of birds you're looking at. If it's a bird of prey, or it's a raven, or a peacock, etc. Exactly.
That's true. One thing that my mind keeps coming back to is cat animals, though. So I mean, we have the lynx, we have of course the cat itself, and I mean, there's even I was just creating a list of like supernatural beings in Scandinavian and generally in Germanic mythology. And I actually encountered a skaldic reference to it was called a jötun, so a giant named Slebader, and that means leopard. It's just really interesting that the Scandinavians actually had a leopard in their general mythology. Just one reference, one place. But some of these images kind of reminds me of leopards too. I don't know if that had anything to go on.
But I think that they definitely, that's the problem, because they are usually a very complex blend. They're not like identifying one animal. It has a different purpose, the beast. So that's a big problem when you look at Viking artists, that you need to really separate yourself from your own aesthetic standards.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, really difficult.
So Luciano, you said that like further on, like you say, as you get influenced by Christianity again, they become more realistic, I guess, and you can kind of start to really tell what the animals are.
Yeah.
Do you know what the reason for that might be? I guess for me, the first ones, like we said before, seem very sort of psychedelic, trippy, almost of somebody who is taking something and seeing these other creatures and then trying to represent that to other people and almost, you know, show what that is. Is there any, when the Christianity influence comes in, is that seen as maybe a wrong thing to do now, which is why they step away from that kind of more, that style of beasts being that almost unrealistic?
Well, I mean, you're talking about a shift in understanding of the afterlife or the other lives, you know. So when Christianity hits with its visual impact, it doesn't only come with Christ, but also with the whole vision of how the imagery is supposed to be depicted, you know. So everything you see will be aesthetically pleasing in a way, you know. There is you try to recreate a sort of aesthetic ideal.
And I think
standard.
you know, the Jelling stone is a good example of that. Actually, not just the Jelling stone, but the Jelling complex in and of itself. It's a good example of this attempt to bridge the gap between these two ways of thinking about the world. If you look at the ornamentation on the Jelling stone, we have what is obviously a figure who is not hanging on a cross, but he's entangled in ornamentation that visually borrows a lot from illuminated manuscripts. Just like the runes. I mean, actually, when you think of it, the artistic expression in the Jelling stone is so incredibly well planned. You have the runes that are organized as if they were written in a book, which is very uncommon for runes at the time. In general, they would go in many different directions and so on. And then you have that beast, the so-called beast on the other side, which I'm very sure personally, I have made up my mind about it. It's a stag that is that is.
Luciano, have you got an image of this anywhere there?
Absolutely. I don't think.
Well, that's my personal. I have a very long theory on this. Like I can always rant at you about. But the point is though that it is very obviously like mixing the two ways of the world, getting closer to, you know, more naturalistic depictions, but at the same time being sort of like entrenched in the older entangled ornamentation. That's how I'm seeing it, at least. Yeah, and this also reflects the reconfiguration of the Jelling site in and of itself, with an old pagan burial ground and a church and all kinds of things.
Where is it?
As if like Harold Bluetooth very much intended to tell everybody we are still like the old culture, but we're moving into a new faith and a new way of thinking about the world.
So this is the one that is this the one that you think is a stag, Matthias?
Yes. And my reason for saying that is that we have the stag and the serpent. That motif is like the symbol of a dynastic royal power in Denmark. We can trace that so far back. It's even, you know, apparent in Beowulf. We find it on coins. We find it on, well, I would say here. This is Harold Bluetooth's own version of it, and we find it in the mythology as well. It's a very common motif. It's even part of like late magical charms from recorded in the 1700s in Denmark.
The problem is that it doesn't happen that much in the rest of the arts in Viking.
No, it's
Age. I mean, the stag is not really a very central image, but that's not really a problem in the sense. No, in the sense that, you know, the connection between mythology and art is a bit of a complex one, really. They overlap for a very small percentage, so it's not necessarily true that it's, you know, that it's not like, well, as you say it, but it's not represented in arts that much.
Well, so
really.
Have you checked out the coins that was found at Festel? Yeah. They have the stag and snake serpent motif. Some of them. I mean, this is of course my own home-baked theory. I haven't written scholarly articles or anything on it that have been peer-reviewed. So I'm riffing at this point. But I think there's something to be said for a continuation of that image in a very long period. I even say that there are perhaps some bracteates from the 500s that can be linked to this motif as well.
Definitely, but the problem, that's the problem, because the bracteates are a bit a different sort of department. There is not a direct continuity between these stylistic forms and formats, so it's a bit complicated to actually uniform it.
So what I would say with the bracteates is that they are sort of the ideological foundation that we're dealing with. But what they bring, what they come with, is the establishment of sort of an incipient aristocracy in Scandinavia, a warrior aristocracy tied to Odin, and tied to also central sites as like temple sites that are emerging in the 500s. So they belong to that earliest period of the elite class that is establishing that ideology that we're reading about in the much later mythology. And so you're totally right that they can't be like just linked into a continuity, but it looks like there are certain motifs that are then being reused or transposed in later periods.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Definitely. I actually wanted to tell you something from the more or less the same period of the Jelling stone with the Kamin and the Bamberg casket. There is a lot of symbology which you will probably find extremely interesting. We are skipping one style, but I suppose that we're running out of time, so we'll have to make do.
We could split this into two parts. If you want to do the third style now, and then we'll leave it at the end of that style, and then move on to the do three another
I'm
time.
definitely down for that. This is some awesome nerding out, man.
Absolutely,
I love it.
So,
absolutely.
So we
definitely.
Obviously, just to recap, we've done the Broa, we've done Borre. So what comes after that?
A little Oseberg, which is not well. Oseberg is, as I said before, it's not a style. Well, it's classified as a style, but it's more like a venue. Very high standard venue that basically concentrated a lot of different stylistic things like the gripping beasts and other other stylistic, trends that later will develop and stuff. Here you get like a good diagram of those gripping beasts on the, what it was talking about. And that would be developed later in, in full Borre style. But Borre style is a lot of different styles. I think it's the most misunderstood of all styles because there's lots of other stuff to say. But besides that, we'll move on to the next one, which is the Jelling style.
Yeah.
And Jelling style is basically, let's see, how would you?
So does that?
It's about 900 to 975.
Does that get its name from the root stone, or does that get its name from a place?
It takes the name from a cup.
Okay.
Actually, can you see it? I mean, am I sharing?
We can see. Yeah.
So this is it's a very tiny cup, which has this particular type of style. It's in its early stages.
And this cup is from the supposedly Gorm the Old's grave, right? So Harold Bluetooth's father's grave.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
So it's
definitely. And what we've been
it's very closely linked to that dynasty as well.
Definitely. This actually, Jelling style is the first style we have good evidence that is pretty much manufactured to brand the Danish royal, family. I mean, basically, Jelling style is strictly connected with Gormdal.
Couldn't the same thing be said for the Oseberg? That is to brand the dynasty of whomever these very important women were who were buried in the ship.
Well, that's a very good question, actually. But the difference with that is that these two ladies were interested in representing specific themes in totally different styles.
Okay.
So they took pretty much the best artists in that period, from Gotland to Norway all the way, and they had them represent the themes they wanted. Right. Jelling style, on the other hand, is actually structured in its knotwork and its functional structure to represent this royal family.
So basically, that's propaganda. The Jelling style is propaganda.
Yeah.
Okay. So the artwork is created for the family. It's their own style of artwork.
Yes.
That's kind of cool.
They actually found certain discs, disc brooches. I'll show you one for a real one from Fedsel, which is in southern Jutland. And this is relatively early Jelling style. These brooches were, I don't know, about 7 centimeters in diameter. And they were built on a thin layer of gold, which was hammered onto a mold, which was called a patrix, because it's a convex shape. It's not like a cup that holds something you pour in, but it's actually a convex shape. I'll show you.
So it's like
some.
So rather than it being like the inside of a bowl, it's like if you turn the bowl over, it would be the outside.
Exactly. This is it. The patrix is, because are made of metal, and so you'd put a thin layer of gold on top of that, and you'd hammer it inside the crevices so that you'd get like the shape of the beasts that you're creating here. So for example, this one, as you can see 3 heads of beasts with their necks, and then the thigh over here, and it continues exactly. They're all entangled. Yeah. So they'd hammer this base, and on top of that, they would construct the whole all the animals with filigree and dots of metal, of gold. You can see that, So that's constructed on top of this convex pattern.
Okay. So there'd be sort of like a masterpiece first, and then that would be made to use multiple other.
Exactly.
So it really is kind of like a mass production.
Yeah, but these were created specifically to hand out to specific alliance people. Basically, the interesting thing, I've been studying this with Lars Grunwald, who had been was excavating the Feldstell hoard. He actually found this specific one, and so he has been studying the whole phenomenon. And it looks like they found the molds in Hedeby. So there was a sort of center where they produced these specific molds. They all found them together.
Yeah.
Okay, so as if it was the person who made them kept them all in one place for when he needed them, or she needed them,
or
absolutely,
maybe a royal guild, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a royal industrial site, and the molds actually developed within the Jelling style, and there are 3 different characteristics which I will not. Example that is of the beast, just to give you one little example. So here's an anatomical construction of the beast. There you can see all the bits and pieces. So how it's constructed.
It's just fucking amazing to me when you see it like that. It just makes it, I can't help but smile. just the amount of work that must go into breaking this down, and the effort that you've gone through is unbelievable. And just to even, I wouldn't even know where to start to try and break this down.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of work. But there's some character.
So
yeah, sorry.
Oh, go on. I was going to say, so is it possible that these were maybe given to like royal advisors or people they trusted, and used as you kind of wear them, and I guess you'd be seen, I don't know, almost.
Yeah. You're on the right track. They were used for sealing alliances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the thing is that
this is basically the continuation that gift-giving alliance establishing system that we have from the migration period.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So basically, this is a way to appease anybody who could be a pretender to the throne themselves. The magnate who lives in northern Jutland, send him a gift, a nice golden ornate piece that he can then wear when he shows up at the General Assembly, and needs to have your back when that pesky magnate from Zealand or something is going to be a problem.
Exactly, it is a sort of a symbol of alliance. You belong to this kind of connection when you receive this. They were also there was a difference between these items.
So that does seem to have symmetry to it, but
yeah.
So there's the 3 that are symmetrical, so it's not completely unique in the sense of some of the ones we've looked at have just they're they're on their own. There's no symmetry to them at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite I just wanted to say that it's quite an artistic accomplishment to make these very entangled beasts be symmetrical. Like that's impressive.
Definitely. Oh, the interesting thing is that these kind of started to be devised in Borre style.
Mm.
Okay.
So you can see them in certain type of brooches, for example. No, this is not a good one. But, well, you can see it from the molds.
I mean, they didn't even have an iPad to where you could scribble bits out the way you got it wrong.
Look, yeah, absolutely.
That's one thing I always wonder about Luciano is how did they design the original piece? I assume they didn't have a pen and paper. Even just having like a pencil and a piece of white paper would make it much easier just to draw and design it and get it right before you created the piece. So either how many did they get wrong, or how good were they to do it? How did they get the design on whatever the mold was, the original? Did they?
We actually have a sample of that. There is one. Oh, and now I have to find it. Okay. Well, it's a plate. It's a plate in what's it? Oh, in lead from Sigtuna.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to find it. That's gonna be interesting.
Don't worry if you can't. So I'm guessing, is that just a case of because lead is so soft?
Exactly.
You can start to drawing it with a sharp object.
Definitely.
But even then, though, if you go wrong,
well, you can.
I guess you can rub it out. Yeah, but
you can. You can.
It's not like double tapping on an iPad, though, is it?
Smoothen down. I mean, it is possible. Yes, that's what they did do. That's. Wait a second. But these brooches actually started in Borre style, and you can actually see it from this. Actually, I'll have to show you something better. This is. I have a big file on these, and the original ones from. No, this is. Let's see. Borre style are. Yeah, something like these.
Mm.
But if you see them, let's see. Oh, yeah, this one, perfect.
People are gonna get a lot of close-ups of my face in this one.
I know.
Yeah,
I think we're both just kind of sat there with his mouth open sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it?
Yep.
Yeah, so you've got these 4 beasts in this case with the heads that you see from the top, a bit like the triangular beasts that you saw in the gripping beast type of setting. And so this kind of gift started in the earlier period. So that's why styles are so. So much a convention, because to them there was a continuity between these things, and they changed certain characteristics that made them, unique to the specific king. So, for example, the heads here are seen from the top, where in a Jelling style piece, for example, you'd see them from the side. You see?
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
This is almost like graffiti.
So there is a
like making intricate pieces that have your own personal touch to it.
Absolutely.
I was thinking more like a coin almost, in the sense of whereas you would have each king or queen's head on a coin, you have your own sort of style or adaptation.
Oh yeah, that's definitely part of it too.
But the thing is that these were adapted to actually to the importance of the target person, let's say. This is a reconstruction of it. So you've got, this one is from Lund, and this one is from Norway, from Caen. And this one is from Celle. This one was a bit complicated to reconstruct. Actually, I got better pictures because the original is in this state. So you can imagine it's a bit complicated to figure out.
Yeah.
This is as far as I got.
I mean, I think you've done pretty well.
It's not perfect, but it's getting there.
Wow.
Yes. And so you imagine that you get like these disc brooches were made either in silver or in gold.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, I made them also. I drew them in gray and yellow to mark that, because they were ranked according to the importance of the alliance, probably. Also, it's the number of the beasts changes. So you got 2, 3, or 4 beasts, either in silver or in gold.
Interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if it's down to you like say your rank or your importance.
It might have to do with that. I actually spotted certain stylistic characteristic that can actually date the different discs. That meaning that we can actually trace the sequence in which they were made. So theoretically, we can actually trace the sequence of alliances.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
From that.
So please tell me more. This is really interesting.
Well, these we actually made a post about it on Children of Ash. There is we made actually a map of these disc brooches and where they were found. So for example, one of the later pieces is this one from Gotland. And this one is definitely later because it has the very late feature of the thigh with the spiral.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's late Jelling style.
These can't all be tied to the dynasty in Jelling, can they? Like.
They probably are all connected with Gorm.
Really? That's very impressive. I mean that would then mean that as a king in Jutland, he has these ties and alliances to magnates, well, over a pretty vast area of Scandinavia.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you're thinking Lund, you're thinking Tren in Norway, several places in Jutland.
Visby in Gotland.
Yeah, in Gotland. Wow. Yeah, in Gotland actually they found 2 of these.
Wow.
From exactly the same mold. With 2 beasts.
I mean, I hope I hope everybody's realizing here that what we can do with this material is really to like reconstruct the elite power of the middle of the Viking Age, at least in southern Scandinavia, based off of artistry alone. Like that's pretty fascinating.
So we
actually,
we creating finding something here, Mateus.
Say what?
We kind of like find here or something.
Yeah. No, this is
that's
cutting
what
edge.
I've been working with. Yeah, this is what I've been working with Lars Grundvald. Actually, he's writing his PhD on this stuff. So if you're interested, connect. Matthias, contact him because he's very much into it and he's got all the data.
Yeah, no, that's
about
really
it.
exciting.
So that's quite.
Absolutely.
And and the interesting thing is, so here in the image you see the one that has been found in Gotland, which is in silver and has 2 beasts. So theoretically, it would be of a amongst these disc brooches would be of a relatively lesser import. With only 2 beasts and in silver rather than 4 beasts in gold.
It would make sense that they could have some sort of ranking system like that.
Oh, they definitely did have that. I mean, I think especially the Jutland Peninsula is a very steep hierarchy already in the 500s. Southern Scandinavia looks more like a feudal system earlier than any other part of Scandinavia. You can see that in the Viking Age, Denmark doesn't seem to have a lot of free peasants, whereas it go farther north in Sweden and pretty much everybody is a free peasant. So yeah, there's probably a feudal style hierarchy already from the 700s, maybe even earlier. So yeah, they would definitely that would be reflected in artwork and such, but also you can see it in the graves too. It's very, very obvious that there's like a sort of a lower elite and a higher elite, and then there's everybody else.
Definitely, but I would like for a second to go back to Dan and see if you understand any of what's going on.
I feel like my head's in pieces.
Because
no, I think you've done a very good job of explaining everything. I think I've learned a lot for sure. I mean, I think we probably should wrap this one up just for the fact it's been 2 hours of pretty intense
nerding out,
intense stuff. So I think even myself, exactly. This is one I'm gonna have to watch back and kind of look at things. And
I could go the rest of the day with this stuff. This is so exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think for most people, probably if we take a break and then come back in a week or so, a couple of weeks, and then go into it again.
I would like to show you some very crazy project just as the last bit. A very crazy project that I'm working on, actually, on the because I am convinced that the whole Viking art wasn't really constructed in the styles that we understand. So I'm trying to break them down in workshops and stylistic influences. And I'm so crazy that I actually started mind mapping this.
Oh, I fucking love it.
So yes, so. Not only that, I started from the center pretty much because that will good good room to move in all direction, forward and backward. So I started with the Mammen caskets. And I would like to first of all wait a second because I need to clear things up on my desktop so you can actually see it. Because
this is the big finale.
I think we've got. Oh damn it! Yeah, this is quite interesting actually. We'll see how it's crashing like crazy. 1 second. All right. I think we are ready. We're ready to go. So I'll connect.
Yeah.
And so I took this program. I found a mind mapping program, and I started from the 2 caskets of Kamin and Bamberg.
Okay.
And there are 3 different workshops that worked at it. So you've got the bronze casters, you got the ivory carvers, and the gilded bronze engravers.
Have you shared your screen, or are you?
I'm
No,
not. You
I'm not
can't
seeing
see
it.
it.
No.
Oh, damn it. Oh, okay, then it's better than. Wait, 1 sec. Oh, damn it!
I just thought.
I think it's
right. There we go.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, perfect.
All
Sorry.
right.
So, all right. So here is the map so far.
Okay.
So here you get like the Mammon caskets.
Mm-hmm.
It's like starting from the Bamberg casket because it's got very clear stylistic signs of being previous to the Kamin casket. Because there are some very clear developments. So 3 different workshops here. You got the bronze casters here on the left side, and the ivory casters that are obviously connected in the 2 styles. And then underneath you've got the gilded bronze engravers. We'll look into it next time into the actual object because it's a big thing. But what I wanted to show you is that you can actually go from themes. Well, it's actually, here we got the Jelling grave. So with the Jelling stone, but the previous objects from the tiny rendering trees, which are the first time that they are depicted in Viking art. And you can see them developed in this side,
right,
of the Bamberg casket, and then they continue on to the Kamen casket. Like there, you see more of those trees.
Yeah.
But parallelly, in the same period, you see those same trees, which start with a root.
Yes.
That is in the form of a loop, and then they go into a knot, and then they branch out. And this one is from the Aarhus stone, number 5. And this one is from Sweden. You can vaguely see it, but you can see the loop at the bottom, and it continues going up. And this is also from Sweden. And it has pretty much very clear stylistic connections.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we have so many runic examples, I think, of that tree, right? I mean, the popularity of that shape just like explodes.
Exactly. But it starts from, the end of the Jelling era. And then it's in the Bamberg style, it actually explodes. And then it starts getting mixed with the acanthus from the continental art. And you can see here at the top, which becomes blended with the same trees already in the Bamberg casket. But here, in the Kamen casket, it becomes more evident and more complex. So you got like both sides. And here's another development of the same, also in Sweden, in a baptismal font. And so on. For example, the 3D wolves on the Kamin casket, the cast wolves, are very similar to a wolf that has been found carved in wood in Volin. And if you take a look at the map of this,
I feel like this map is going to be amazing when it's finished.
Yeah.
this is what you see in the map.
Right.
You see, so this is Bamberg, which is not the origin place of the casket. Obviously, it comes from southern Scandinavia, but you can see the connections with the trees. So here you got like from in Sweden. And then you got like the other connections. Yeah, here I made a list of connections and I named them. So this one is the wolf connection. So with the southern, this is a Jelling connection.
I'm pretty sure. Aren't we seeing that wolf head in stave churches as well?
The funny thing is, of the two wolves, now I'm just lost. Lost in technology. But if I'm going
go to Belarus
around the world. But you see these two wolves. This one is the Kamin casket, and this next to it is the Volin wolf. So you see how damn it. They just won't cooperate. See if we can. There you go. So if you see the wolves here, they're very similar and they are very close to each other. So it looks very much like somebody in Poland actually saw the casket and built this wooden wolf head, which is very, very similar.
No, that's like could literally. This is the most fascinating thing about all of this. Like, we get so close to the people, like in their own time, through this art. Like we can sort of almost like reconstruct a, like, I don't know, market scenario where this carver is like, hey, that's an awesome little carving right there. Let me just like scribble down on a piece of lead or something.
Definitely. Absolutely.
That's still common today, though, that you see some people see things and they go, well, that's good. I wonder if I can recreate that and make my own money from it.
Yeah.
Definitely. And the later styles we're talking about, like the Jelling style and the Mammon style, are also represented in very important pieces in the British Isles. Here is one of the Isle of Man has got like very beautiful stones in Mammon style, and here in the Orkneys there is one specimen of very beautiful, one very iconic specimen of Jelling style art. This one. So it's very, very similar to the standards in in Denmark.
Fascinating.
So we're
it's all so fascinating.
Yeah, it really is.
So, but that's my latest pet project.
Like you don't have enough.
No, exactly.
Perfect. Let's wrap this up. We've just gone over 2 hours, which I think is the longest we've done of any podcast. Luciano, thank you very much. I mean, the work you're doing is so important, and I think it's absolutely amazing. Hopefully, people will take the time to watch this and really kind of learn some new bits.
Oh, yeah. I did
for sure. I'm probably going to forget most of it and have to rewatch it, but I definitely learned.
Good, that was the idea.
No, this was amazing. Anybody who doesn't already, please go and support Luciano on Patreon, because it helps him do what he's doing, helps him pay the bills and carry on blowing our minds with the with this artwork, and helps you, I guess, helps you keep doing the research.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah. Perfect.
No problem.
I hope we can do the.
Go on, sorry.
I hope we can do a next episode so that we can finish off the.
Oh, for sure we will.
Absolutely.
Without
styles. Yes, we will have to.
We'll definitely do a second part to this.
Cool.
Matthias, obviously everyone can find you. Is it just your name on Instagram?
Mm-hmm. And also check out my website, NordicMythology.com, NordicMythologyChannel.com, sorry, and those kinds of things. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Like I say, you can find me, Daniel and Scarfire and one. Obviously, you've got our Patreon as well. Just Patreon/Nordic Mythology Podcast. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for anybody who's taking the time to watch this. I'm sure there's lots of information that people can keep going back to time and time again and watching and relearning and checking out. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time, Luciano.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was so interesting.
Absolutely. Cheers.